Thursday. So, please excuse the chaos in the background. We are moving some things around in here to give me all of this lovely bench space. But in the meantime, I have to live with a little bit of chaos. So those of you who have been here for a while might be familiar with Chunk. This is Chunk the baby dragon. Chunk, you see, is a small boy. So today we are going to be making Chunk bigger. See, he's just so small. Or is he huge? We'll never be able to tell, because I've got so much bench space now. So there are a couple of different ways we could approach making him bigger, and I'm going to be using both of them. But we're going to take this, and I'm going to mathematically double the pattern, and then using a double strand should hypothetically make him twice as big again, but we're going to test that theory first. So in terms of colours today, even though the original Chunk is yellow, we did make another version of Chunk. I can't locate the Chunk itself, but here's a photo. That was like cyan turquoisey type colours, and so I think we might be leaning into like this colour square today. And a big part of that is the fact that we've already kind of done red, purple, yellow, and peachy oranges. So it kind of just feels like it might be time to do a big green one. A big like bluey green type dragon. So I do have a whole lot of different greens and blues I could use, but I think I'm going to stick mainly with those different colours or the same colour. They're both Laguna, they're both the same. I've got lots of this colour, which is why I'm kind of choosing it. I don't know how much yarn this is going to take today. So this is my colour palette, I think. So I'm sticking mainly in like these dark bluey greens, mainly because I have a lot of this colour here. And yeah, and I am going to potentially introduce a nice pale yellow for features. So with my colours picked, I'm going to do something that's a little unusual for me, and that is we're going to do a test swatch. That's because I want to lock in a guess for how big this little guy turns out. So at his original size here, I need a ruler, hold on. I'll settle for a tape measure. Tape measure. Okay, so at his current size, he's about 12 centimeters tall and about 12 centimeters wide. He's a ball. So original size, let's put it on the screen here. 12 centimeters by 12 centimeters. So mathematically doubling this pattern should hypothetically get us to 24. This 24 in all directions, which is, it's a respectable sized dragon. I don't think he's getting made fun of by anyone on the playground. So now I want to make two swatches, one with a single strand and one with a double strand, and use those to calculate how much bigger he's potentially going to be if we use a double strand. Everybody skips this step, but I'm trying to give it a function. Okay, so I'm going to grab a strand of the color I'm going to be using, and I'm going to make a little 10 stitch by 10 stitch swatch. I'm not going to finish this off, but I'm just going to trim it off, and that's just because I'll frog it to reclaim the yarn and use it as part of the assembly process later. So there is our single strand square, and now I'm just going to do the exact same thing with a double strand. Oh, I'm going to need a bigger hook for this. So we've got a double strand and 4.25 millimeter hook. Okay, well, that was a lot more tiring on my hands than the single strand swatch, which means that I'm already starting to regret this plan a little bit, but I think that means that I'm on the right track. So here we have our single strand swatch and our double strand swatch, which I'm not going to trim off at all. Because I'll frog it and reclaim the yarn and use it in the actual project. There they are side by side, and here are their measurements on screen now. I need a pen, we need to do some math. Math. Go back. You're 12 centimeters, and then using a double strand it'd be 24 times 1.4, which is... Okay, so we should end up with a chunk that is about 33 to 34 centimeters as a ball. So that would be... Good. So yeah, that's my guess as to how big this is going to turn out today, but leave your guesses in the comments and I will confirm the size at the end. Okay, so now there's nothing really to it but to do it. What I've done is I've taken the original pattern here and I've gone and I've sized it up a level, and these notes will be made available to my patrons, so if you're looking for that, there is a link in the description down below, but also in the description I'll leave a link to the video that explains what this process is. And Chunk in particular was a great candidate for this because honestly the shaping on him is very, very simple. So it was a really fast and easy process to just multiply by 2. I think we want to start with the main potato, which is 51 rows long with the widest point being 96 stitches. Just the question here is, do I want to use a double strand of the same color? And I'm going to use my darker color. So I'm using Laguna and I'm using color number 1908. There's no color name listed on the label, which is not helpful. And if I don't like this, we'll work that out pretty fast, I think. So I really like the way the color is coming out so far. Okay, so that is concerning. I'm not going back. Worst case scenario, I'll make something and sew it over the top, but it's staying. But that is the top part of the body. And I know I'm making good size choices because this is the original and we can like hide it completely. See, it wasn't a problem after all. You know what? I thought I was really happy with the size of it, but I actually think he might be a little bit small. He's heavy though. He's making you bounce like that. And that's all I have left. So I think we're about halfway through these balls of yarn. I'm expecting to go through maybe 2 of each color throughout the entire project, but we're currently right on track. All right, so with the bean all done, after that I whipped up the tail piece. Now, while making the tail, I did run out of yarn, so I did have to swap to a second ball of each color. Next up was the base of the head. Now for the head, I did need to decide on belly colors, so I landed on a combination of mint and this icy blue color. I looked it up. It's iceberg. So yeah, the icy blue is iceberg. Who'd have thought? There's that very pretty color that it's forming. And I love the fact that when you take like the blue and the green that we're mixing and you put this in the middle, you get the exact mid-tone. And I understand that that's how mixing colors works, but you don't get to do it very often in crochet. So it's just fun to like see it happening. And it turned out so pretty. It's going to be a real shame that a lot of it gets covered up. But in any case, these are the 3 pieces we have so far. So I have almost a full ball, it feels like, of the mint left, but of the blue, that's how much. I must have used this for something else. Currently very happy with them, with the exception of just like the tail has turned out this very odd shape, but it's got this extra bump in it that I think was definitely present. Yeah, it is. It's definitely present on the original chunk, but when we doubled it in size, it magnified it, funnily enough. So hopefully that can get minimized by stuffing and when we assemble, but currently I'm very worried about it having a butt horn. It's a butt horn. But we definitely need to stuff and attach these pieces so we can get a better idea of what we're working with. So I do need to have them stuffed really, really full. Anything this big is going to have gravity be its enemy because I don't want to put an internal structure in him. I want him to be squeezable, thoroughly squeezable with no risk of impalation. Is that a word? Yeah, I don't want to risk impaling myself on any kind of wooden or wire structure inside. So stuffing is my answer to that. I think I'm going to run out of stuffing. Now this will have a whole face piece over the top of it. So no one get too attached to this very pretty color. And I've worked out why I like it. It's because it's almost lenticular. So from one angle you see more of the green, and then as you turn it, it turns into more of the blue, and it's subtle, but it's there. So this will go like here on this bean. And now the tail. Benjamin. Okay. This is the last of my stuffing before I have to stop and go and feed Benjamin. Benjamin is the name of our stuffing bin. I don't think this is enough stuffing to even finish the tail, let alone everything else we need to do for this dragon. Now I believe most of this ends up lying against the body, so I will only just like stuff the tail part of the tail. I use language good sometimes. Pin this in place too. Ah, no, don't fall off. He's losing his head. Roughly what it's supposed to look like, I'm pretty sure. As I said, needs a little bit of extra stuffing here and there, but that's our base. What I think we need to do next is make the haunches, which are just like the big chunky thighs that go on either side, and then work on some paddly little feet for him. Now the haunches were really easy to resize because they're basically just a big round piece. So one little hunch and a second one, and they will go on the sides here. However, we are completely out of stuffing. So I need to go grab some more before we can earmuffs. Their muffs. Continue this process. But while the craft store isn't in the cards today, I am going to be able to grab just a couple of cheap pillows, and then we'll be back to work on our fellows some more. Okay, so I am soaked because it started raining out of nowhere, but I got the pillows and I got 4 of them just in case, because I just wasn't sure if 2 would be enough. And then for the feet, I did start them the same way as I had them in the original chonk pattern, but I did end up tweaking the nail design slightly just to make the nails look a little bit more embedded into the foot. And I did want some contrast for those toenails, so I ended up grabbing some pale yellow and some cream and using that as a double strand for them as well. If you're happy and you know it, clap your feet. Face defeat, because we have not armies. We only have leggies. That is still my favorite joke. They're gonna go there. I do think they need a little bit more detail on them. And I think what we need to do is give them foot pads. I did some research. I was looking up like dragon feet and iguana feet and Komodo dragon feet and crocodile feet. And let me tell you, I have been to some places on the internet that I have never been before, but I have some inspiration for how to make these feet. So I'm going to use some of my lighter colors and just make a couple of different like rounded shapes. And I have swapped back to my 3.5mm hook for this because I do think it'll give me a little bit more control over the shaping. And honestly, my hands and arms really, really hurt after trying to work with the thicker strand of yarn and the larger hook. So swapping back to the smaller hook was a bit of a relief. So yeah. Okay, so I have made all of the pieces for the feet. I'm relatively happy with it. I do think that some of it will be like smoothed out in the editing, but that just means sewing. I am resisting the urge to sew them together right now though, just because I do want to make sure that I have all of the pieces and that I'm not missing anything before I do that. So I'm going to pop those to one side, but I do think they're going to look quite good. Look, he can wear little chonk as a hat. We still have a number of pieces left to go. So we obviously still have the face, which I haven't made yet, obviously. We have arms, we have wings, and we actually have, it's a piece that I keep forgetting about. And it's there's like a tail piece and a belly piece that kind of cover up this bit in here. Yeah, we're going to pop those to one side. Yeah, little footprints. And yeah, I'm going to make a little chest patch and a little tail patch. We're not quite done yet, but we have made a lot of pieces. But we only have a couple to go. And I'm determined, right? I've decided that this is the week. This is the week we finish him. I'm committing, which means that we have today to get this done so I can show him to you this week. He's a baby. Yeah, he's just a big baby, but he needs a face and he needs some wings. So let's whip up the wings now. So there is the finished wing with the like a little bit more serrated at the bottom and that thinning out. And it did occur to me as I was working this. Chunk apparently takes after his daddy because Marigold's wings don't look anything like this. Hers are all like delicate and insect-like, whereas like these are very much the solid like lizard scaly wing. But if you'll observe, Chunk does not have a top like knuckle joint. It's not bat wings because he's got forearms. So no top knuckle joint on these ones either. And with that, the time has come. We're gonna make the face. And there's no point doing a yarn check-in because we're still working on the same balls as we were before. But I do think that this face is going to easily use up the last of these two, but I do have spares. So for the face, we are going to just one row at a time, build it from the nose backwards, and just every time we work a row, we'll probably be trying it on. So be prepared for a lot of like new. You know what I mean? So this piece was by far the most important piece. The rest of the pieces you can kind of like fudge the details a little bit, but the face really steals focus. So I really have to make sure that I get it right. So the first thing that I did was I just looked at the math of the numbers. I think this piece is going to need the most translation and probably the most new design to it. That doesn't mean I can't use the numbers as like a starting place. So you may notice that I have skipped the nostrils as I work up the first part of this face piece. That's just because I realized that I could make separate nostrils at this size and just sew them on afterwards, and we'll get a much better result. Now to make the eye sockets, I couldn't just double everything the way that I normally would. That's because we're working with negative space. The stitches that aren't there can't be doubled, but we still need to like double the amount of space they take up to keep everything in proportion. And how I've solved that for this one here is that instead of working twice the rows in the same space, I've doubled the height of the stitches used. And what that means is that for every single crochet, I've worked it as a double crochet instead. And for every double crochet, I've worked it as a double treble crochet instead. So those taller stitches are taking up twice the like row height area, which is effectively doubling the height of that section as well. Now, the reason we don't do this normally is because double trebles have a lot of gaps in them, so stuffing would escape. Whereas like for this mask piece, it's being sewn over the top of a solid shape, and so we can get away with it a little bit better. Okay, I think that's as good as we're gonna get. I haven't done the things on the sides, but I have extended the back all the way so that it covers up the last of that green. He has developed a fin on top of his head. No matter how much I stretch it, the fin is there. So I've just decided to incorporate it. It's a feature, not a bug. And he has a ridge. He has a forehead ridge. And I think I'm going to do like a small horn type thing on top of each eyebrow, and that you won't even notice that. As in like it'll look like I did it on purpose. And hey, who's to say I didn't? Right, so one other thing that I hadn't really considered, but here we are, is that I've used safety eyes on the little chonk and on Marigold. I've just used the same eyes on her, but they are obviously not big enough. Like the whole chonk fits in the eye socket. So I am going to have to crochet eyes, and I'm going to keep them pretty simple, I think. So I will just start with, I think, a two-toned iris, and I'm going to go with yellows for that. And I'm going to give it a black edge, because one thing I learned from Sprinkles the Bakery Dragon is that contrast is key when it comes to eyes. And then we're going to make a little black wedge to act as the pupil, and we're going reptilian with that. And then just a little white catchlight just to bring us back into a sphere of cute. So there is the eye. And once I put it in the socket, I think it'll help it a little bit. And I did want to make it small enough that we could still see like a nice wedge of the colour, because I do like that colour. So he's looking a wee bit cranky there, but we'll get it in editing. So now I think we just need to make like a couple little like horns, and there we go. And I have decided just to make 2 of those. Okay, so with our antenna done, you went that way. I've decided to just make 2. We are just going to take this enormous pile of dragon body bits, and I'm going to assemble him into a dragon. This is not a trick of the camera. He really is here, and he really is this big. This embodies something I have wanted to do for almost 3 years now, and it makes me very, very happy. But we do have one piece of business still to attend to. Now, I don't remember what my original guess/estimate was at the start of the video, even though it literally just happened for you. It was weeks ago for me, but I'll put it on the screen here right now. And let's find out his final measurements. I'd say 34 centimeters tall and about 33 wide. Yeah, and about 33 there. So I would call that 33 centimeters in all directions. And folks, that is exactly what the math said it would be. I know, I looked it up. Math. It's a shame we all skipped the swatching step, because apparently it's very accurate. In any case, the pattern notes for this big, wonderful fellow will be up on Patreon at some point this week, if they're not up there now. The patrons know. We love the patrons. Maybe we make it an annual thing and I just double it every year, right? Don't worry, Bobby. We still love you. Okay, bye. Oh, I forgot, a final yarn update. We ended up using 2.5 of each of these darker colors. And then it was less than 1 a piece, maybe about half of each of the lighter colors, and then just like, it's not worth writing home about the amount of the yellows that we used. He's just a small, happy little nugget who likes to spend a lot of time upside down. Is about 12 cents. So we will just frog this to reclaim the yarn, which can be kind of fun to watch. So here we go. It's way more creaturey. Don't know what I'm going to do with that thought, but I'm having it. Like, no surprises here. This isn't a one-day project. Ready, looming like a giant potato of fun. Victoria's Secret model, are you? But I'm going to estimate the yarn better, because I'm going to weigh it. Hold on. Never mind, that's less than 1 gram. I need my hardest working tortoise, but I don't know if pins are even up to this. I might have to break out the skewers. Yeah. That's a weird thing to say. His big, beautiful face. What do you reckon, Mr. Bones? Did we get the shot? Well, that's a thumbnail, isn't it? Right there, isn't it? This is my final ball of mallet, though, so it should be enough, hopefully. If it's not, this dragon's gonna change colour. Or is that exactly what we predicted it would be? Easy there, big guy. Oh, I love you. You're amazing. Look at you, baby. Alright, I gotta finish attaching your limbs.